2019 and 2020 Outstanding Volunteer Man and Woman of the Year Awards dinner. We're so happy that we're finally able to get back together and celebrate all of the wonderful volunteers that we have in Baldwinsville. Last year we definitely missed having this event, but we're so happy that Tom and Clara could hold off for a year while we got back to a place where it was safe for us to get together and celebrate. So we always like to start out our dinner by recognizing some of the past men and women of the year. I'm going to start with the oldest because the only time he likes to be called old is when it means he gets to go first. And I know that because it's my father. 1973 Man of the Year, Frank O'Donnell. We have the Man of the Year from 1982 here. That's Harold McJenkins. We have the 1991 Man of the Year here. That's Dave Therian. From 1993, we have both the Man and the Woman of the Year here, Rosemary Bucci and Phil Sterling. From 1994, the Woman of the Year, Marilyn Jenkins. From 1998, the Man of the Year, Joe Lafredo. The 2000 Man of the Year, Tom Lemaire. The 2003 Man of the Year, Mark Baker. Year, Bonnie Kesselstein. The 2003 Woman of the Year, Donna O'Donnell. I don't have a so obviously I come from good stock. The 2010 Man of the Year, Mark Dangler. The 2013 Man of the Year, Chris Arnold. 2015 Woman of the Year, Sandy Baker. From 2016, we have both the Man and Woman of the Year, Doris Hildebrand and Harlow Kesselstein. From 2017, the Woman of the Year, Norma Whitman. 2018, Man of the Year, Dave Greer. And I have to go back and find him on the list here. From 1974, Stu Hostler. We got off the reservation list, so I didn't know he was coming until he got here. But we're happy to have him. He's second oldest to my father. We're also happy to have Ken Bush, the county legislator for the town of Van Buren, with us tonight. And myself and Mike Shepard are both here. We are both trustees of the Village of Baldwinsville. Ken was nice enough to bring citations for all of our honorees from the county legislature, honoring them for their service. And I also have citations from Congressman Magnarelli from the state assembly. So we're going to start off this evening with honoring our 2019 Woman of the Year, who is Clara Rose Thomas. And to present her with her award is our 2004 Woman of the Year, Bonnie Kesselstein.
Well, I'm very honored to have nominated Clara Rhodes for this award. She is very, very deserving of it. She's one of the kindest and most generous people I know. Clara Rose Melvin Thomas is a native of Baldwinsville. She grew up on the Melvin Farm, Melvin Family Farm, which was located on the corner of Route 370 and Hayes Road, where the traffic light is now. The property was once surrounded by farms. In fact, the dairy farms went all the way to Baldwinsville at that time. After graduating from Baldwinsville in 1946, she went on to Cornell and graduated in 1950. When Clara Rose's name is mentioned, two things come to mind: weaving and her husband Walt, who passed away in 2013. They met on a breakfast hike at Cornell and married the week of graduation. Clara Rose likes to say that she received her BS and her MRS in the same week. In 1952, they moved to her current house on Cold Springs Road and raised 4 children. In fact, they now have grandchildren and great-grandchildren who we are hearing in the background. It's such a pleasure to have. She's very involved in 4-H as a leader and a judge for 25 years, even being awarded the Silver Cow Award for her dairy promotion. She has always been very involved with the First United Methodist Church in several capacities. For a number of years, she and others made garments for Dress the World, sending several thousand garments across the world. One day she said to her son, Bruce, "When I am old and gray and have nothing else to do, I want to learn to weave and spin." So he said, "Better start now." So they sold a cow, and she bought her first loom and fell in love with the craft. She now does more weaving than she does spinning. And make sure you see when she comes up that vest she's got on, she made some wonderful things. She's well known over much of the United States for her expertise and willingness to share her craft. She has won many awards, lots of them at the fair and elsewhere. She and Walt have been also part of the Witter Agricultural Museum, which is located on the fairgrounds. In fact, down there, being well known all over the United States, they took campers for several years around, and places they stopped knew of them and also bought things they had on the trailer. In the 1980s, as part of the 4th grade social studies curriculum, she and Walt were frequently teaching colonial crafts for the students. In 1983, when I had the idea, let's do it in a big way and do it in the bus garage, I knew where I could turn. She knows everybody in the Northeast, I think, she and Walt. So she did it for all of about 35 years. She and Walt did it. Clara Rose is a very special lady, and congratulations to the Volunteer Woman of the Year for 2019, Clara Rose.
You can get up, or I can bring the mic to you if you wanted to say anything.
I forgot to say, if anybody's looking forward to learning weaving, see her now. Even though she's 93, she's still teaching weaving.
Wonderful, and we have so many people who volunteer to do all kinds of things. I'm appreciating now the Beeville Express when I need to go someplace, and there are so many people have helped me. Thank you.
instructions and read them before I give them to you. And I'm just going to read Clara's on behalf of all of them because I believe they are all the same. So, this one is from Assemblyman Magnarelli. On this day, blah, blah, blah. I just want to read the main things because I think it really kind of exemplifies all of these volunteers and Baldwinsville as a whole. So it says, whereas a great state is only as great as those persons who give exemplary service to their community, whether through participation in voluntary programs, through unique personal achievement in their professional or other endeavors, or simply through a lifetime of good citizenry. And whereas such service, which is truly the lifeblood of the community and state, so often goes unrecognized and unrewarded, now therefore be it resolved that as a duly elected member of the State Assembly of New York, I commend and recognize the dedicated service given to the community of Central New York by Mrs. Clara Rose Thomas, in which we have an outstanding individual, one that is worthy of esteem of both the community and the great state of New York. And then from the Onondaga County Legislature, certificate of recognition. This certifies that Clara Rose Thomas is awarded the certificate for the Baldwinsville Volunteer Center 2019 Volunteer of the Year. Those are to hang on your wall. Next up, we are going to be honoring the 2019 Man of the Year, Tom Perkins, and originally Sandy Baker was going to come up and do it, but I am told that her husband Mark is going to be standing in for her this evening.
I'm not sure I've ever gone on stage when the crowd has groaned. You didn't think you'd ever see me up here again, did you? So one of the people we're here to honor tonight is Tom Perkins. Among his other distinctions that we're going to talk about is the fact that he was named the Volunteer Man of the Year last year during the height of the pandemic. And I think you'll all agree that a Zoom presentation would not be worthy for this man. It just doesn't make it. So to this year's award recipients, thank you for allowing the 2019 people to come and be part of the celebration this year. Tom's accomplishments in this community are many, and there probably isn't anyone who doesn't know him. Tom is active in his church, St. Mary's, where he's a Eucharistic minister. He's also a former member of the parish council. Tom is also a former member of the Baldwinsville Village Board, and he is a charter member of the Baldwinsville Rotary Club. He also served our community as code enforcement officer and as fire marshal of Baldwinsville for 11 years. But there's one more thing we haven't touched on. One more way that Tom has spent his time since 1962. Tom was a member of the Baldwinsville Volunteer Fire Department. Tom spent his volunteering time going into burning buildings and rushing to the scene of accidents. So while many of the rest of us would be moving away from these scenes, Tom would be passing us going the other way, on his way to that event. Pulling people out of wrecked cars, corner pharmacy fire, Agway, And while he wasn't at Sirocco because he was away at a fire conference, he still had to come back and deal with that massive undertaking for this relatively small fire department for a building of that size and a fire of that magnitude. Tom was a member and a very important part of the Baldwinsville Volunteer Fire Department. Tom's service started in 1962 and he rose through the ranks holding deputy chief roles and eventually becoming the chief of the department. All told, Tom served in leadership roles for 15 years, acting as chief for 8 years. And then, during that time, Tom was sending other people into burning buildings. And that, my friends, is a bigger responsibility than most other people volunteering their time would ever shoulder. More recently, Tom also served as chief of the Northwest Fire District for 5 years. Over his tenure, Tom has received numerous chiefs and president's awards from the department, including receiving the Valor Award in 1975 for rescuing a fellow firefighter. In addition, Tom is a past president of the Onondaga County Volunteer Firemen's Association, a past chair of the Onondaga County Fire Advisory Board, where he served for 12 years, a past chair of the Lysander Public Safety Committee, and past chair of the ERIC Committee, a group formed to study response problems in the county fire service. He has been a member of FASNY, the Fire Association of New York, since 1966, presently serving on the Training and Education Committee. Tom is also affiliated with the New York State Fire Chiefs, the Fire Marshal and the Fire Inspectors Association, the National Fire Protection Association, and the Central New York Firemen's Association. There's like a theme here. Tom has been married to his wife Roxanne for 40 years, and the fortunate residents of Baldwinsville have seen them make their home here. I believe their daughter Jennifer is also here with them tonight. Our community is so fortunate, and it is my distinct honor to introduce to you the 2019 Man of the Year, Tom Perkins.
When Mark came up here, I was scared to death. Having known him for a long time. When Megan called me and told me I had been chosen for this, I was quite humbled to be honored for doing something that I really love to do. It has been a long or a good ride. I would like to thank the Volunteer Center for awarding me this. I would like to thank the fire company president, Sean Dunlap, who nominated for this award. And again, recognize the different organizations. I was a charter member of the Baldwinsville Rotary Club, and I do see some of the people in the room tonight that were also charter members. A great organization that unfortunately I had to leave too soon because I got a different job and moved out of the Baldwinsville area. But I'm at that age where I'm, as you heard, I'm past everything. So, I would also like to congratulate Clara Rhodes. I don't know if she remembers, but she used to alter my clothes. I bought my clothes at Dick Decker's, if anybody remembers, men's store. And I was so short and fat that I had to take a foot off all the pants that I ever got. And I went to Clara, and she always altered my pants, but she probably doesn't remember that, but she did do that. Again, thank you for this honor. I think there's a lot of other people that are probably deserving of this. But I'd just like to say, I think I would like to maybe dedicate this to my father. He was a longtime member of the fire department, also fire chief, but he did a lot of work in the community and never got to receive an award like this. So for him, I'd like to receive this also. Thank you.
So, a little interlude before we get on to the 2020 Man and Woman of the Year. Every once in a while, the Volunteer Center finds it necessary to recognize someone outside of the scope of the Man and Woman of the Year. We've done it a few times before, and this summer we decided we needed to do it again this year. There was a volunteer who has been in the Baldwinsville community for several years, and she and her husband decided to move to North Carolina to be closer to their family. So we wanted to recognize her for her years of service to the Baldwinsville community. So we presented her. Unfortunately, she just left town like a week and a half ago, so she just missed being able to be here herself. But last month we were able to present her with this proclamation, so I just wanted to take a minute to read it. So the Baldwinsville Volunteer Center is happy to recognize Roxanne Parmalee with the Heart of Baldwinsville Award for her many years of volunteer service to the community of Baldwinsville. Your lifetime of passion and commitment to Baldwinsville has made our community a better place, and your departure will be felt by many. This award is given in appreciation of your many years of service. For over 21 years of commitment to the foundation of the Northwest Family YMCA, as a founding board member of the board, as a member and chair of the Board of Managers, as a CNY Metro Board member, as chair of the Syracuse Auto Dealers Association's Charity Preview Committee, as the HR Committee Chair, and as a member of the CEO Search Committee. For your short but impactful time on the board of the Baldwinsville Community Scholarship Foundation, leading the effort to establish protocols and hire the first employee of the organization, for your joyful participation in moving up day ceremonies during the 2 years of the COVID pandemic, for your volunteer time with the Baldwinsville Volunteer Center's Christmas Bureau, for helping with shopping and organizing and packing up toys for the families of Baldwinsville who need assistance to bring Christmas morning to the children of the household, for your many years of dedication to Grace Episcopal Church, on the Community Cookie Swap Committee as a vestry member, on the Search Committee for a new rector, for the annual chicken barbecue, for Easter morning breakfast for the choir, and as a youth group chaperone. For your volunteer service to the campaign committee for Onondaga Family Court Judge candidate Paula Engel, as committee chair for the C.W. Baker Class of 1977 40th Reunion, to the Care Foundation Golf Tournament, as a Baldwinsville Youth Soccer Association coach, as a Girls Little League softball coach, as a supporter of the C.W. Baker Silk and Satin Vocal Jazz Ensemble, and as a volunteer to the Baldwinsville Canal Music Barge. For your service to all of these organizations and probably countless more, it is with sadness that the community of Baldwinsville says goodbye to someone who has truly represented the best of our community, and you will forever be in the heart of Baldwinsville. She was very humbled by it and was surprised that we knew so many things about her. So moving on now to the 2020 Woman of the Year presentation to Janet Therian. she is going to be honored by.
She'll be ecstatic.
She's very nervous, but we don't mind. Lori Bernstein, the Volunteer Center Christmas Bureau Coordinator, is going to present. Janet.
Okay, I do need my glasses. I guess print is never big enough when you're over 60. So like Megan said, my name is Lori Bernstein, and I have the honor of being here tonight to introduce the 2020 Outstanding Woman of the Year, volunteer Janet Therian. Janet was born in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and lived there until 1980 when she, along with her husband Dennis and young son David, moved to Central New York. I was told by Janet that they picked Central New York because Dennis's brother lived here and told him it was a great place for fishing and hunting. I mean, why else would you pick an area to move to other than fishing and hunting? Luckily for all of us, they chose Baldwinsville, and they still live in the house they bought on Seneca Street in the village. They live there today. After moving to Baldwinsville, Janet hosted Fresh Air Children for many years. She was coordinator of Meals on Wheels for over 9 years, and then a caregiver for others for 3 years. After that, she volunteered throughout Baldwinsville, including Peace Incorporated and the Clothing Ground, which provides used clothing for those in need. She also became president of the Neighborhood Advisory Council. Currently, and for over 14 years, Janet has volunteered at the Women's Charitable Society, where she helps pass out needed medical equipment, such as wheelchairs or crutches. She's also in charge of a sneaker program, which is associated with the Baldwinsville Methodist Church, where she contacts families personally who may need some help with back-to-school sneakers. She and her husband Dennis personally shop for appropriate sneakers, socks, and school supplies for up to 65 children a year. See, Dennis, she told me you helped. She sometimes hand delivers these sneakers to parents who cannot make the planned pickup day. Janet is also the sole remaining person who volunteers for a program called Beeville Cares. Beeville Cares was formed over 10 years ago as a program to help people who seem to fall through the cracks and just need a little extra help on occasion. As part of Beeville Cares, she has helped families in finding apartments, helping them with needed security deposit. She's organized and volunteered at a yearly income tax preparation service free of charge for the clients. She has purchased and delivered gas cards for someone who needs gas just to get to work in between paychecks. I personally know that one time she gave her own family tent to a homeless man who was living in the woods. She said, well, he needed something to sleep in so he wouldn't be out in the open. She has taken people clothes shopping so they could have appropriate clothing for jobs or interviews. She has delivered diapers and formula to parents that call and are in desperate need. Dennis, I'm sure you can attest to the fact that Janet gets calls on weekends, at night, and she will not say no to anyone who needs help. If she cannot help personally, she will find someone who can. Janet also volunteers at the Baldwinsville Food Pantry weekly and has done so for over 10 years. She's been on the Volunteer Center board of directors for many, many years. We were trying to figure out how many, and we just know it's a lot. I would guess at least 15 years probably. She's a member of St. Mark's Community Outreach Program. She's an active member of her church community at Word of Life Church. In addition to all of this, Janet is chair of the Baldwinsville Christmas Bureau. I can attest that she works tirelessly almost every day over the months of November and December so that Baldwinsville families in need will have a wonderful Christmas season. As coordinator of the Christmas Bureau, I know that I would be completely lost without her. She goes above and beyond anything that would normally be required of her position. She jokes every year that she should retire from this position, and every year I ignore this request. Baldwinsville Christmas Bureau would not be nearly as successful without her. Jana has been described by others as kind, caring, compassionate, hardworking, and dependable. I would agree with all of this. I would also describe her as a quiet volunteer, someone who does so much for others without wanting any recognition of how much she does for others or how much she helps people in the Baldwinsville community. I can think of no one who deserves this award more than Janet. I consider her a dear friend, and I love her as many others in this room do. Now I'm gonna get crazy. Please come up, Janet, and receive this award for the well-deserved 2020 Woman Volunteer of the Year.
Well, now that she said all that, I can just say thank you and sit down. I do. I thank Laurie Bernstein so much for a lot of things. And I know I filled her head with over 100 stories that I told her. And I just thank her for believing in me, and I thank the board also for believing in me. I have so many people to thank, and I have a card that I'm not even going to look at because my church, Word of Life, has supported me for the last 6 years financially, which has been just wonderful. My beautiful friends and my neighbors have also supported Beeville Cares to keep me going. And St. Mark's has just been wonderful to me. Also, they're great to the community. They love this community. Just to give you a little idea, and then I'll close. I had one incident, and the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm very safe what I do. I'm cautious, but I put myself in a lot of precarious places. And I had a phone call, and it was from a gentleman that lived in Cicero, and he had a severely handicapped child, and he needed some funds to get some money out of storage in Cicero to move to Baldwinsville. And so I had agreed, it was a small amount of money, and I had agreed to meet him, and I called the man at the storage unit. He said he would only take cash. So I went to Gino and Joe's, it was in the afternoon, and I went in and told them what I was gonna do, and this gentleman was gonna meet me. And I asked him if he had cameras in the parking lot, and he said he did. And so then the gentleman pulled up, and he did have a very young, severely handicapped child. So I asked him if he would get out of the car so that he could sign my receipt book, and I would just give him the envelope. Well, if you ever watched The Green Mile and you saw John Coffey, he got out of the car. I think I met his brother. Because he was huge. And I thought, oh God. So, but God protected me, and he always does. And if you never believed in angels before, I looked up at the windows in Gino and Joe's, and that's all I saw. It was all these angels in the windows and an angel at the door. And of course it was the manager and the employees at Gino and Joe's. And I felt safe. I felt very safe. And he did sign my paper, and he was just as gentle as John Coffey. So it was a win-win. It was beautiful. So these are some of the things that happened. And like I say, I feel very safe in Baldwinsville. It's a beautiful community, and I just love it. And I want to thank my own family, my grandchildren, my son, for helping with the Christmas Bureau. And I certainly couldn't do any of this without my husband. He has been just so supportive all these years. And whatever I needed, and every time the phone rang, it was always, do you want me to go? I'll go with you. And I said, no, it's okay. And he's always there, always. So I thank you for that, and I love you. Thank you very much.
not least, we're gonna recognize our 2020 Man of the Year, Bob Edgett, and Joe Lafredo, the 1998 Man of the Year, is gonna come up and do the presentation.
This is on, right?
Yes.
Someone else mentioned this word. There is a word that is not, I repeat, is not in Bob Edgett's vocabulary. It is a word with two letters, an N and an O. The word no is not in Bob's vocabulary. If you are an individual or in an organization and you ask Bob for help, he will always say yes. By saying yes to Don Goodman, head of PAC-B back in 2004-2005, Bob, with a strong technology computer background, became very, very active in PAC-B. Here was another chance for Bob to use his God-given talents to help a person, Don Goodman, or an organization, in this case PAC-B. Soon after helping Don Goodman with a technology problem, Bob was seen all over Baldwinsville taping. He was taping municipal meetings, Van Buren, Lysander, Van Buren, school concerts, annual Memorial Day parade and the cemetery services, Friends of the Baldwinsville Public Library, Remembering Beeville, Lenten lunches at First United Methodist Church. He initiated the taping and playing of the community Wesleyan church services that have been played on PAC-B every Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. since 2005. I estimated that Bob produced 70 community videos and 50 church videos every year. That's a lot of time. And if you were watching, a lot of the time is just setting up the camera and tearing down the camera and taking it home. While Bob is not videotaping this many programs today, he is still out in the field. He videotaped the Memorial Day parade this year and cemetery ceremonies and some of the meetings that needed a volunteer when the assigned person couldn't make it. And just recently, on September 14th, he videotaped the Beecham Historical meeting held at the library. Bob is still going strong. He never stops. Bob's skill level really came into play on two occasions at PAC-B. The first one was when we had to move from the library basement over to our new building. Well, the building isn't new, but it was new to us, at 8 Mechanic Street. He and Bob Stockdale took everything out of the library, installed it in the new building in 4 days, 50 man hours, and still had programming on PAC-B. By the way, Bob Stockdale was the Man of the Year, I think, in 1999. The second occasion was the untimely death of Bob Stockdale in 2012, when the studio control engineer, who is going to immediately step in and implement the technical aspect of engineering for PAC-B? Who is it, Scott? Who's going to step in? You know, Bobby Edgett. And that he did. Bob Edgett was responsible for keeping PAC-B going from a technical and engineering standpoint, along with those 120 videos a year. During the pandemic, Bob Edgett showed his true colors. He videotaped the Memorial Day parade and services, the outdoor drive-in Reynolds school, 5th grade school graduation. Imagine that. Car after car after car, and there's Bob with his video camera. Luckily for Bob, it wasn't raining like it is today or yesterday. The sun was shining that year. Bob was also of great assistance in aiding the videographers in the field. He downloaded, titled, and timed programs such as the annual Peony Fest and the Cat & Woods Art Show. With the pandemic closing churches, he assisted St. Mark's, St. Mary's, with getting their services on PAC-B. In the case of St. Mary's, Bob had to download the service, time it, title it, and load it and schedule it, Saturday and Sunday. He did this for St. Mary's from March 2020 through December 2020, when St. Mary's took over the responsibility. During the time at St. Mary's Church taping, Bob had to be away for a week. What would some normal person say? Well, we just won't do it this week. Just forget it, or repeat a program from a month ago. Not Bob. He called up Ernie Ham and said, Ernie, would you please process the video? And Ernie did. Furthermore, the village of Baldwinsville decided to Zoom their meetings. Bob was a consultant and an advisor to Linda Clark to make sure the village board didn't miss a single scheduled meeting during the pandemic. During this past year, Bob has become the middleman, the backbone between videographers in the field, the scheduler, and the engineer in the control room. Whatever needs to be done, Bob is at his best to supply the necessary effort and skill to ensure programming for PAC-B and the community. If you know Bob Edgett, you see that when he volunteers to help an organization, it is full throttle, both from an intellectual effort and from a physical work standpoint. It's not just for a week, a month, a year, but for the duration. Now I got a lot of arrows here. I got to remember where I was going. See all the arrows and red ink and everything. I'll find it. Oh, in the meantime, Bob was and is doing a bunch of volunteer work at his church, the Community Wesleyan Church. Here's a letter from the good Reverend Chapman. And basically it says some of the same things that we found at PAC-B. Bob was the head trustee for many years. 20 years he was the head trustee. Can you imagine 20 years if anybody has a complaint? Oh, I want to speak to Bob. I've got a problem. Overseeing the upkeep and maintenance of the church buildings and properties. Even after he stepped down as head trustee, he continued to serve on that board and also served as chairman of the Joyce Prowl Memorial Scholarship Fund. How many years did he do that? 30 years. Wow. So you see, here's a man that joins, he puts his full effort into it, and he has many things. What is the radio, right, Bob? Radio. What is the radio deal that I always call? Yes, you do. Come on. What is that program that you're involved with? The two-way radio business that you do. Ham radio. Ham radio. There you go. And emergency services, right? With the ham radio. And he's involved in that. Plus, he has to cut his grass, wash his windows, and paint his house. This is one busy man, and maybe that's why he looks skinny like he is compared to me that's a little chubby. So, introducing and honoring the Man of the Year for 2020, Robert Bob. Come on up, buddy.
He exaggerates a lot, but some of the things that he talked about are actually fun to do. And actually, volunteering is a two-way thing. We get something back. When you volunteer, you usually find somebody that is appreciative and returns the effort double. So I know probably I started knowing what volunteering was back as a youth. I grew up on a dairy farm, and one thing that sticks in my mind is one of the neighbors got hurt or sick, and all the neighbors gathered together, did his farm work, harvested his hay, and that has stuck with me over the years. It didn't cost us that much. Everybody from the neighborhood came in, got the job done. You felt good doing it. He, of course, felt good that it was done for him. And I think that's carried on. And I still am a believer that if a youth gets involved in something, volunteer work, when their time comes, they will step in and volunteer on projects later on in life. So again, it's a pleasure, thankful that I was awarded the award, and thanks to all the ones that have worked with me.
Well, somebody walked away with the rest of my program, but I think I know what's next. I'm going to invite the president of the Baldwinsville Volunteer Center, Barb Presley, to come up and just give a little update about what's happening with the Volunteer Center, besides hosting these fabulous events.
Thank you, everybody. I think I'm reminded every time I attend one of these dinners what a wonderful place Baldwinsville is, and how lucky we are to live in this community and to be able to work together and to live together and to share. I'm always touched and moved by the things that people have done for this community and how people remember them. I think your words were so kind and, about being a farmer and helping and just reaching out to somebody who needed it. It was very moving for me. First, I'd like to congratulate tonight's honorees and say thank you to each of you for your generosity of your time, caring, and commitment to others and to our community. The Volunteer Center has made a couple of changes over the last year. We moved our office to 8220 Loop Road, which is in the Town of Lysander building. We have a space now for meetings and collections and working on some of our projects. So that has been kind of a big move for us. And we are still getting used to it because of course COVID sort of changed like everything. So we're working on that. We also have a new office manager. Her name is Lauren Russett. Could you stand or wave so everybody knows who you are? She started sort of in the midst of COVID, God love her. So, you know, we are working all together trying to figure all of this out and still keep our office and our programs moving forward, and I think she's doing a great job. If you would please just check your program. I'm not going to talk about our programs. They're on the back. Those are the things that we have done for years and years. If anybody ever has any questions about those, please reach out to the Volunteer Center. We have been trying to keep those going to the best of our ability during this difficult year, and I know that our Help Project and our Christmas Bureau course during this time were hugely successful and very busy over the course of the year. I'd just like to introduce a couple of, or not a couple, but the board members who are here tonight. Megan O'Donnell is on our board, Lori Bernstein, Mike Shepard, you guys just say hello or so they know who you are. Carmi Evans, is she still here? Wendy Dryden is our treasurer, Kathy Mazaway is our secretary, and of course Janet Therian, who is near and dear to all. I know everybody's really hungry, including me. I'd like to conclude by saying thank you to Megan O'Donnell and to Lauren Russett for pulling this program together. It felt really good to be here tonight, just to be able to be out and to be with anybody. Again, it was a really good thing. Not that you and also to Lori Bernstein, who also played a part on that committee. So thank you very much. I'd also like to especially thank, and you will thank her in just a little while, Mrs. Shepard, who makes our desserts and donates them for this evening. So once we get through dinner and you get those desserts, can you say hello? Because, yeah, once you get your eyes on and your mouth around some of those desserts, you'll understand what we're talking about. Again, to our honorees, congratulations, and thank you sincerely from all of us at the Baldwinsville Volunteer Center.
Sorry, I have one more note that I wanted to read before we get to dinner. So this is from Dick Clark, who is the mayor of the village of Baldwinsville. He says, I regret that I cannot attend tonight's 2019-2020 Man and Woman Volunteer of the Year dinner. This event is one of the highlights of the year for me because it singles out people who make Baldwinsville a better place to live. Hats off to our 4 honorees and a hearty thank you to you and all of the other volunteers who make Beeville special. Thank you, Mayor Dick Clark. And now I'm going to hand the mic over to Dave Horan, who I don't have my thing, so I can't remember what year you were Man of the Year, but he's a past Man of the Year. He's going to do the blessing for us before we serve dinner.
I just wanted to say, and Barb said a lot of it, that I'm so proud of this community. When I come to these dinners and I find out so many people do so many things, we should be so happy that we live in a community like this. Can you bow your heads, please? Dear God, we are so thankful for all of our blessings that we receive. Thank you for the special blessing of Clara, Rhodes, Thomas, Tom Perkins, Janet Therian, and Bob Edgett, who care for others and reach out to help them whenever possible. What great examples for others to follow to create a more loving and caring community and world. We are also blessed to be surrounded tonight by a whole room full of volunteers and selfless people who give so much of their time and talents to help their neighbors. Thank you all for your devotion to others. We are truly blessed. Thank you for the food we will soon enjoy and the hands that prepared it. Amen.
Thank you, Dave. The staff will call tables up individually, so give them a minute to get ready. In the meantime, if you have to run to the bathrooms or the bar, go ahead.